It's for the soldiers that see the sun at midnight.
Get a clue, people. Get a clue. How long have you been saying people are going to be marched out in judgment for everyone? That will happen.
95% of the people, they don't have a clue, Derek.
Driving rain, very motivated Trump supporters wanting to see the president in person in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
We are Q.
Some of those people wearing and holding the 17th letter of the alphabet.
Are you holding a big red, white, and blue Q? Why do you have that?
It's a movement, man. It's the shift. I can feel it coming. Some call it the Great Awakening.
You're wearing a shirt that says Q, WWG, 1WGA. What does that mean?
It means where we go one, we go all.
Qanon is the people that believe in what Trump's trying to do to change our country.
Q is the 17th letter of our English alphabet. In Hebrew, the 7 would be the Zion, very special letter in Hebrew. And the 1 would be the Aleph, the silent letter that starts everything.
That had big letter Qs on them. Many media outlets covered that and explained what QAnon was and began to kind of dive into this breakthrough moment for this conspiracy theory.
People who believe in the QAnon conspiracy theory.
Are so broad and
It's also shockingly widespread. It's like an alternative reality game.
I thought it was just groups of people that were gathering excited about Trump. It is kind of spooky when you hear them all in unison yelling, "Conspiracy! Look the other way! Don't gather!"
Doubling down on his calls for a recession. He wants this economy to fail because somehow he thinks that will cause the president to fail. In other words, he doesn't like that the president is successful. I gotta tell you, I am so sick of the left rooting for this president to fail, because I'll tell you, we are one. We are Americans, and if the president fails, America fails, which means everyone fails.
Trump hasn't given any indication that he is aware of QAnon or believes it. He is the person who, I guess, inadvertently started it. He made a cryptic statement to reporters in early October where he talked about the coming storm, a statement that he then refused to explain. The phrase "the storm" has come to be super important to people who believe or circulate these posts, where the storm refers to this kind of coming mass justice against all of Trump's enemies.
She actually did a fairly good job of describing that. I give chops to her, that there are, in fact, large groups of people, Republican and historical Democrat alike, that believe there's something ugly brewing behind the surface, particularly when people are being asked to trade their freedoms for security, which is extraordinarily dangerous ground.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
Do you notice that the norms and standards, to quote The Atlantic, of American life seems to have changed overnight, and all of a sudden we're being told we must accept things that would have been completely unimaginable 2 months ago?
Well, Tucker, there's so much to talk about here. First off, I didn't realize I was going to be on a sci-fi show tonight, but we are entering a dystopian future. We are entering an authoritarian future.
And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment.
The notion that you could be deleted your channel for hosting this video, I'm not sure that is hypothetical anymore, and my question is very simple. How long before they come for you? You just wrote a book called Don't Burn This Book. How long before they come for the show? Sincere questions.
That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
We've never seen anything like this in the history of our country. It used to be a free place. We bragged about it. But it's happening, and not just online. The police commissioner of New York announced this week that political protests have been banned in America's biggest city. How long have they been banned? Well, for as long as his boss, Bill de Blasio, says they're banned. So it could be a while. It's nice when voters aren't allowed to criticize you. As the commissioner explained, that's the law now. Quote, "These are laws that have been passed down through executive order." Yeah, got that? Passed through executive order. But wait, by definition, executive orders aren't passed. No legislature signs off on them. They're ordered.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
Now, I'm sure you've heard this particular speech, which is often titled on websites, Democrat websites, as the speech that got him killed, where it is a speech that's coming down pretty strong on something that he seems to know, that seems to believe is a problem. I want you to listen to the words very carefully. Democrats, I'm praying for eyes to open amongst Democrats. There's something that has taken over and infiltrated your party. I'm asking you to come back, man, and to fight for your nation.
On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations.
This term conspiracy theory and its overuse comes from the CIA and newly released documents surrounding the murder of the Democrat president.
Car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the trademark. It appears as though something has happened in the motorcade route. Something, I repeat, has happened in the motorcade route.
November 22nd, 1963, a date that's gone down in history. More than 50 years later, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy remains one of the most contentious events in American history.
Before that date, Americans were remarkably trusting in the credibility of their government. After November 22nd, the deterioration began.
The theories are many. The president was killed by the Russians. It was a mafia hit. Some even think it was a covert coup d'etat. Today, after decades of doubts, Americans hope to uncover the truth, as the FBI releases 3,100 never-before-seen files on the JFK murder investigation. The government's official line is that Kennedy was killed by a young former U.S. Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald, who acted alone. While experts say not to expect the revelation of any bombshells, like the possibility of a second shooter, there could be new evidence of an elaborate CIA cover-up.
I think the evidence is pretty clear that Oswald was the only shooter. What I don't eliminate is the possibility he was encouraged to do it, was aided to do it, or at least that he told other people he was going to do it.
Intelligence agencies claimed they knew little of Oswald before the assassination. But previously declassified CIA documents showed the agency had been monitoring him as early as 1959, when he tried to defect to Moscow.
John F. Kennedy.
Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
It's almost like the stuff talked about on those back channels is openly talked about from some of the main stages of your nightly news and other places. Now, weren't most of those Q posts about a day of reckoning that was coming for a deep state type of crowd. But then again, what do I know?
Buckle up. An avalanche is coming. I've been telling you about this. It will destroy, if there's any remaining credibility of the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists and the rage media mob in this country, along with their allies in the Democratic hate Trump left. And those that have abused power inside and outside of government, you are about to face the justice that many of you deserve. We have made a promise on this program that we will hold all of them accountable, which has been a central focus of this show. And tonight we are making real, significant progress on multiple fronts.
A key part of QAnon is this idea that Trump is, he's not just fighting against the deep state to the extent of like the intelligence agencies or the Clintons. He's fighting against what they believe to be global pedophile networks amongst the elites all over the world.
Now, while we're talking about conspiracies, and the letter Q is not actually a conspiracy, it's an alphabetical letter. It's just simply a letter. And you found movements of people that support their president. You know what I would support? You know, what happened to John F. Kennedy in the Democrat Party? What happened to courage in the Democrat Party? I tell you what, I'm calling. There's a lot of people who have been convinced that they need to always go Democrat. I am calling for people to come forth and have courage out of that party.
Fortunate because you consider yourself a civil rights leader. You're just attacking me. You're just attacking me. You haven't actually offered anything that's constructive for Black America.
All right, Leo, does anyone, Laura, does anyone watching your program honestly believe what she just said? I'll give you a straight. She said Democratic Party wants black people to fail. See, those are talking points, Ms. Owens, because you know deep down inside, just because you disagree with the Democrats, you cannot assume that Democrats want black people to fail. That's what you just said on national TV.
I did, and I believe that, and I will back that up with facts.
Okay,
I will back it up with facts. I will back it up with facts.
You know that's not true. I
want to play something
Laura, you know that's
that
not
was
true.
said today. I
will back it up with facts.
I think a lot of Democrat leaders are freaking out and tried to kill her yesterday at that hearing.
They're afraid.
Because they don't want what she is saying to take hold in other parts of the black community. Leo.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of everyone.
All right, everybody, please have a seat.
More than all this, almost like a cherry on top. You got to imagine how Obama felt when Trump won. Here's the clips of what he said to Trump on that particular night.
And I know just the guy to do it. Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
The dramatic achievements in space which occurred in recent weeks should have made clear to us all, as did the Sputnik in 1957, the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere who are attempting to make a determination of which road they should take. Since early in my term, our efforts in space have been under review. With the advice of the Vice President, who is Chairman of the National Space Council, we have examined where we are strong and where we are not, where we may succeed and where we may not. Now it is time to take longer strides. Time for a great new American enterprise. Time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement, which in many ways may hold the key to our future on Earth.
What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? all kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
Never one to walk away from a fight, the president is escalating his feud with his predecessor.
Look, he was an incompetent president. That's all I can say. Grossly incompetent.
Donald Trump fired back at Barack Obama after the former president criticized the U.S. response to coronavirus during a pair of commencement speeches.
More than anything, this pandemic has finally torn back the curtain on the idea that so many of the folks in charge know what they're doing. A lot of them aren't even pretending to be in charge.
Attacks on Obama are nothing new for Trump, but he's ramped up criticism by making evidence-free allegations of widespread criminal activity, a move that's seen as a diversion tactic ahead of the fall election.
Well handled, sir. Well handled. Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there. So, yes, this has been quite a year in politics, but also in the movies. Many people, for instance, were inspired by The King's Speech. Wonderful film. Well, some of you may not know this, but there's now a sequel in the works that touches close to home. And because this is a Hollywood crowd, tonight I can offer a sneak peek. So can we show the trailer, please?
What did Barack Hussein Obama know, and when did he know it? Tonight we will unravel the biggest abuse of power scandal in American history, and it is more clear than ever before. Barack knew a lot. How much? We're going to dig deep tonight. Also, how involved was the former president in deep state spying, Russian disinformation, prosecutorial misconduct, unmasking, weaponizing intelligence? All roads now lead right into his Oval Office. And breaking just moments ago, acting DNI Director Rick Grinnell is now seeking to declassify any Obama officials involved in the illegal unmasking of General Flynn. We will explain. This is a huge development. Also, and a 300% jump in sidewalk homeless camps in San Francisco is now causing a massive outbreak. Nancy, maybe you could bring some ice cream. Or build a homeless shelter with all your rich friends and your multi-million-dollar mansions in your gated community. But we begin tonight with our top story, and that is President Trump is calling it Obamagate.
I mean, it's all, outlandish.
Yeah, it's very confusing. I mean, sort of and it's constantly growing. Sort of the gist of it is that Trump has teamed up with the military and sort of various virtuous world leaders, including Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, to take on this global cabal of Democrats and Hollywood elites and bankers and all this kind of stuff, who they claim are essentially responsible for all the evil in the world. And soon Trump will have all these people arrested.
Guys, I would point out I've never actually heard that Trump was going to team up with Kim Jong-un. I did hear that would be an enormous sign. The man with the stone for the giant of debt, the giant of socialism. Speaking of a global cabal, I'll tell you what, you guys make it sound extraordinarily exciting. So I'm looking forward to every last well-squeezed inch of that, and the CNN coverage, which we can assure is true at least 10% of the time. And somewhere in the mix, who knows, maybe you guys could go for another impeachment, and even beyond that, call Candace Owens back in and accuse her of racism somehow for whatever it was that it's always the racist card with the Democrat side, isn't it? And this is Nadler, by the way. This was the lead dude on going after Trump for the impeachment. And somehow they're accusing Candace Owens of being racist against black people while helping black people, I guess, and somehow tying it up with Hitler, because you always, if you're a Democrat, you got to throw Hitler into any equation to make it sounds like a better argument.
Not believe that we should be characterizing Hitler as a nationalist. He was a homicidal, psychopathic maniac that killed his own people. A nationalist would not kill their own people. That is exactly what I was referring to in the clip, and he purposely wanted to give you a cut-up similar to what they do to Donald Trump to create a different narrative. That was unbelievably dishonest, and he did not allow me to respond to it, which is worrisome and should tell you a lot about where people are today in terms of trying to drum up narratives. By the way, I would like to also add that I work for Prager University, which is run by an Orthodox Jew. Not a single Democrat showed up to the embassy opening in Jerusalem. I sat on a plane for 18 hours to make sure that I was there. I'm deeply offended by the insinuation of revealing that clip without the question that was asked of me.
Wow. Here with the reaction, communications director.
And these are all their words, by the way, that there would be elites and cabals and important people arrested. And by the way, that's already been happening, hasn't it? Now, just like a duality, the Q could also be for the word Kabbalah up there. Now, hold on a second before you have an allergic reaction on me. The Kabbalah in Hebrew literally means tradition. It is an esoteric method or school of thought in Jewish mysticism. Now, the Kabbalah is fascinating. Here's my issue with it. Just like you had two paths at the beginning of this film. To the Resh and the Zion. The Kabbalah, though fascinating, and I'm very familiar with it, it's man-based. The Kabbalah describes man. Man as the inner dimension of all spiritual and physical realms. So it's a selfish thing. It's a man-based, not God-based. Now, on the flip side of that, you have the Kadosh, which means sacred or holy. Two different paths, man-based or God-based, and you get to choose. But it does look like both are in the cards of this Joseph period. And it also looks like a day of reckoning for some is at hand. And under the concept of Kabbalah, and by the way, there's many, many fascinating, look, the mystical properties of God are for the glory of God. God says, I will not share my glory with another. When I talk about two different roads, and this comes right, speaking of Trump and towers, all men build their towers. All men build their towers. We decide what are we going to, through the course of our life, God sees our ending, not our beginning. Are we going to glorify God in the heavens, particularly as we go towards our end? Or do we use everything only to glorify ourselves, which we all do to a certain degree? In our towers, are we trying to benefit and lift up others, or cut them down and destroy them and silence them? These are two very different paths. And even things that seem good can be turned for evil. Right here in this book, Nimrod, you have the Tiamat-shaped Vatican Cathedral, the worship of God, turned into the worship of the serpent. And I've got many Catholics that are in my own family. We all are off in this place. It's not just the Kabbalah that's off, but anything that brings the glory to man as opposed to God.
My eyes are the veil's being lifted. You know, I was in Hollywood for a lot of years, right? I was Cuba Gooding Jr.'s manager. I produced movies. I was in Hollywood for a lot of years. I was an executive at Microsoft and executive at Paramount Pictures. I've been around the industry. I've been all over the world. I've met all of these people. I've met Donald Trump. The only person I haven't met, which is really, really crazy out of all of this thing, When Epstein came up, I was like, why is it through all of the things, I actually never personally met him. I'm sure I was at some of the parties or premieres or something that he was at, but I never met the guy, and I really wasn't even aware of him. I was more aware of people like Arnon Milchan, who was an arms dealer, and everybody in Hollywood knew it, that he was an illegal arms dealer, an Israeli arms dealer, and yet he's a major producer. So they just overlooked that. And now he admits, oh yeah, I was not only an arms dealer, but I'm an Israeli spy. Perfect. So,
the rabbit hole is deep.
Well, what's so crazy about it is I met all of these people. So I can promise you right now, though, is the one thing that I do know about Trump and I do know about Epstein is that everybody that I know that knows Trump knows that he was really good friends with Epstein and spent a lot of time with him.
They spent a lot of money buying up the videos that were out there 3 years ago.
Believe me. Now, it's like, folks, come on, man. You're trying to root for this guy.
Hey, but I bought into that, Derek. I've been trying to believe it for the last couple of years, you know?
Yeah, I've heard, oh my God, Tom Hanks has been assassinated, or Tom Hanks was hung. He was killed for his crimes against humanity and children, and the Q stuff is out of control.
I hear you, bro.
It's amazing that people can say
it's AI. Don't you think it's AI?
Yeah, what you say is outlandish, they say. But, of course it's AI. It was usurped just like everything else. Creating new laws that make you and your normal actions now illegal. So going outside or to the park or surfing is now illegal. So lawlessness is everywhere. Look at all of these people breaking the law. Well, let's just say somebody made a law that said blonde hair was causing COVID-19. What do you think they would do to everybody with blonde hair? Oh, and believe me, they will do things like that, except it won't just be blonde hair. They'll say, all of these people are ill. They're all mentally ill. The virus must have actually damaged them. There is so much stuff going on. We could make 1,000 videos a day with all of the evidence we have. The problem is, the second we make them and post them up and actually show people being beaten by the police, show people being arrested for the most ridiculous things, showing people standing up and fighting the police, well, those get taken down within minutes. I've tried to post some videos and they were taken down before I could even finish uploading. The algorithms would see components of videos that I have and stop my download and say that my video can't be uploaded because it's violating policy. So it's now violating policy. Playing something, reading something from the CDC's own website, I've had removed. Reading something from WHO's, the World Health Organization's website, has got videos deleted. Not just mine, many people. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that when I talk about a rebellion, and people think I may be espousing violence, I will never do that. That's their game. That's not ours. However, violence will come to us. They will bring it to us. So who are we and how do we react? Well, I can tell you right now that they won't have any mercy on you. Remember, Christ said, the Father desires mercy, not sacrifice. Oh, what do they want? They want sacrifice. They will have their sacrifice. And what they will do to the likes of us will cause even more violence from the people. The people are going to raise up against these people. The militias are in motion. They are gathered. They are moving. It is happening, folks. So you can sit and talk about this guy and this person and that person. I'm trying to prepare you for inevitable blood. There is blood coming. They are coming against these people, these states, these municipalities. See, they're doing these things, and this is why I'm going to get into this. The most dangerous thing, the brown shirts are coming. They're called contact tracers, and that's the next section of what I'm going to be discussing. So if you go to YouTube right now, and you look up contact tracing. So let's just look at these search results here. Type in contact tracing, you're going to get CBS, Wall Street, Digital Trends, The Guardian, Bloomberg, MT Lincoln Laboratory, CNA, Global News, PBS NewsHour, The Verge, NBC News, Channel 4 News. You're not going to see anything created by content creators. You're going to see the likes of news channels like this one. Now, I'm going to play this because we're going to talk about the details of what they're actually saying that contact tracing is. So if you don't know, let me bring you back. If you don't know what contact tracing is when you've had contact with somebody that has been diagnosed with having COVID-19. Well, as we've seen, you can pretty well find COVID-19 on anything. You can test fruit or a dog or a bird or the tree, and COVID-19 will be there. So it isn't what we think it is. Just go ahead and grab a COVID-19 test like many people have all around the world, tests that were supplied to them by the CDC and WHO, and they test everything and it all has COVID-19. So what is it that they're trying to make illegal? Or what is it that they're trying to stop? It's not like they don't know this. They do. They know it's a complete ruse. However, they construct these things in threes. First stage, second stage, third stage. Look at every single pandemic in the world. There's always 3 stages, and they're always the same. And they're following the playbook from the Spanish influenza as we speak, just like Bill Gates said. They say these things to our faces, and everybody thinks, oh, this can't be happening. This isn't happening. Let me just bury my head in the sand. Let me just forget about this. Folks, if you went on the dark web and you were paying attention to what these militia are doing, and let me just remind you that this is one heavily armed country when it comes to the citizenry. And so I don't think that you're going to see your typical military weapons. Those are used as fear against you when they say, oh, well, look at this shock and awe we're going to do over here. That's also to keep you in check. When they show their military might, look at us, don't think for 1 second that that's not there to intimidate you, to think, who can rise up against the beast? Who can challenge this beast? I got news for you. This beast is going to eat dirt. Period. If you doubt me, hide and watch. So let me play this, and we'll talk about it.
Fixed. Getting back to normal and reopening the economy will require 3 key things: more testing to catch outbreaks before they get out of control, contact tracing to identify anyone an infected person came in contact with, and isolation to break the chain of transmission. Test, trace, isolate is the mantra.
Test, trace, isolate. Test them. They'll have COVID-19 if they don't like you, or you're undesirable, or you don't have a good job, or you're not the right person, or you're not in the right neighborhood, or you're not the right skin color, or maybe you said some things on YouTube that they don't like, or whatever. You're undesirable. You'll be tested. You'll be positive. You will be isolated. That's called jail. They won't be able to isolate you in your house because they need to really, really keep track of you. And you could just simply leave your cell phone. Things will get more restricted. Right now, they're going to trace you and track you. If you're diagnosed with COVID-19 and you go somewhere to a friend's house and those people have interaction with you for 15 or 20 minutes, they'll know it. And they will then contact those people. They will have contact tracers, agents. Listen to me here. Contact tracers that are agents. These municipalities and these states and the federal government is hiring hundreds of thousands of these folks right now. They destroyed all their jobs so they could force them to take another job as your future stormtroopers, your future brown shirts. This program has happened before in this fascist country that's always been fascist. That was always the idea, as the guy that we were just watching there with a dollar vigilante was pointing out. He was showing Abraham Lincoln sitting and what's he holding on his hands and what's on side of Congress, what's this country founded on? Well, it's all founded on fascism. Look at the symbols underneath Abraham Lincoln's hands and before Congress. This is exactly what this country intended to do. But in order for them to build it up for what they needed to do, they needed to have a lot of people, a lot of slaves, a lot of people to build up what it was, to buy, to consume, to eat, to destroy. You buy a new thing, oh my gosh, it broke down. Don't bother fixing the part, throw the whole thing away and buy a new one. People don't know how to build anything. They don't know how to fix anything. They don't know how to make anything. They don't know how to cook their own food. They don't know how to grow their own food. And they say, oh my gosh, how could I grow my own food? I have such a small yard. Well, why do you have a small yard? Because your job is there. Well, everything revolves in your life around your appetite or your need or your ambitions for money. This is exactly what Jesus was talking about. When government and corporations are one and the same, which is what we have, the United States of America is a corporation. If anybody does not know that, it was incorporated. It is part of the banking system. We are part of a corporation, and you are an asset of that corporation. If you didn't know that, then maybe you should look and see what the backing for the United States dollar is. It's backed by the full faith and credit. The full faith and credit of who? You, the people of the United States of America. The full faith and credit of the people of the United States of America. This country, through its economic system, through its dollar, through all of that, just helping you understand who we are in this scenario, have enslaved everyone. Every country, because of their appetites, too. So we displayed our culture, begged everybody to be a part of it, and told them that they were stupid and ugly and dumb and not with the cool people unless you act like Americans, unless you act like these stars, unless you act like these TV people, unless you do things like them and act like them. Well, we've lured the world into this. We've done this. So the full faith and credit, the backing of the people, they will come because we've done that. We've allowed it. We are the system of support. When you understand how they have separated the government debt from the people's debt, you'll know the Federal Reserve has more than $200 trillion in debt. But yet the debt for this country is only $26 trillion or $30 trillion now, because when they give the people $2 trillion in a stimulus package that's $6.6 trillion, and they give the people $2 trillion of that, or $2 billion of that, that money, that billion, or those $2 trillion are applied to the people's debt. That's the debt of the United States of America, not the debt of the bank. The bank holds much greater debt over the people. We're the ones that give the Federal Reserve its power. It is a private corporation that we, the people, allowed through the monkeys in Congress to give them the authority to write checks to the American people on a bank account that has zero in it. Literally inventing money. It's called Babylonian magic. This is ancient. It was around. It was being implemented by Babylon during the days of Jesus, which is why he was kicking the crap out of the money changers in the church, in the temple. They were changing money from real value, silver, to now a currency that is worth jack. It's an invention of value, which was the coin that he said when they said, should we pay taxes to Caesar? Pay tribute. Tribute was the word. And he was like, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and render unto God what is God's. What is God's is real value. What is Caesar's is a lie. Give it back. We didn't hear that.